We're working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Judith Gamera delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region on today's headlines. Singapore and Vietnam confirmed its 3 cases of new SARS-like virus, which has killed 17 people in China and spread to multiple countries, including the United States. 10 people were missing after a boat carrying 20 migrant workers capsized off the coast of Indonesia's Sumatra Island, a search and rescue official said Thursday. And the Philippines' economic growth is expected to expand by 6.3%, but a weaker peso is seen for this year. Singapore Thursday confirmed its first case of the new SARS-like virus, which has killed 17 people in China and spread to multiple countries, including the United States. The Ministry of Health, or the MOH, said the patient was a 66-year-old man from Wuhan who arrived in Singapore with his family on Monday. He was immediately isolated after arriving at a hospital with a fever and cough, and test results later confirmed he was infected with the coronavirus. One of his traveling companions, a 37-year-old man from Wuhan, has also been admitted to hospital as a suspect case. Prior to admission, they had stayed at a hotel on the resort island of Sentosa, the ministry said. It added that Singapore was expecting more cases and alarms given the high volume of international travel. Singapore's Changi Airport started screening flights from Wuhan at the beginning of the month, and on Wednesday extended the checks to all flights from China. The travel hub receives over 430 flights from China every week. The virus has caused alarm in China and abroad because of its genetic similarities to severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS, which killed nearly 650 people across mainland China and Hong Kong in 2002 and 2003. Singapore was among the hardest hit by SARS with 33 deaths. Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, who is in Davos for the World Economic Forum, said there was no need to panic. Speaking to reporters traveling with him, Lee said Singapore has beefed up its hospital facilities and laid out response measures since the SARS epidemic. Meanwhile, 2 Chinese nationals in Vietnam have tested positive for the SARS-like coronavirus and are being treated in hospital, the official said Thursday. A Chinese man living in Ho Chi Minh City was infected by his father, who traveled to Vietnam on January 13th from the China city of Wuhan, the epicenter of the virus. The father was hospitalized on January 17 with a high fever, days before his son showed symptoms, the health official said. Both were quarantined and tested positive for coronavirus, a new infection that has already killed 17 people in China and infected more than 570. Dr. Nguyen Ngoc Sang said the patients have shown signs of good recovery. Their fever has reduced and they can eat now. Vietnam's deputy health minister urged all precautions to avoid any further spread. Nguyen Trong Son said they should immediately test any suspected cases so that they can detect the disease quicker. They don't want it to spread to the public. Vietnam shares a long, porous border with China and welcomes millions of visitors a year from its northern neighbor.
Đối với 2 trường hợp tại bệnh viện Chợ Rẫy hiện giờ đã có chẩn đoán dương tính với cả virus corona và người bệnh có nguồn gốc liên quan đến việc di chuyển tại thành phố Vũ Hán, và tại Việt Nam thì cũng đã di chuyển một số thành phố, ví dụ như là Khánh Hòa, Long An, rồi về thành phố Hồ Chí Minh mới phát hiện được bệnh. Cho nên là chúng tôi cũng đã chỉ đạo cho bệnh viện Chợ Rẫy, các đơn vị trực của bệnh viện và đặc biệt là các sở y tế của các tỉnh là phải tập trung công tác phát hiện đối với những trường hợp mà bị sốt liên quan đến nghi ngờ các người bệnh mà đã đi qua các cái tỉnh thành, đặc biệt như là ở Vũ Hán ở Trung Quốc. Vấn đề
theo đúng phác đồ thì bệnh nhân có dấu hiệu hồi phục tốt. Hiện tại là 2 bệnh nhân tỉnh khỏe, giảm sốt, ăn uống được.
In the Philippines, Health Secretary Francisco Duque III on Thursday said he has instructed the Bureau of Quarantine to meet with officials of Cebu Pacific to track down the family members of the first Wuhan coronavirus case in Hong Kong, who reportedly arrived in Manila this week. Hong Kong-based newspaper South China Morning Post, or the SCMP, first reported that 4 family members of a 39-year-old man from Wuhan flew to Manila from Hong Kong on board Cebu Pacific flight of 5J111 on Wednesday. The airline, however, said all the passengers who boarded the flight were screened by the Bureau of Quarantine, and none of them were held for further observation. Dr. Chan, Hong Kong's Director of Health, said in an interview Wednesday that man from Wuhan tested positive for the novel coronavirus and was confined at a local hospital. Dr. Chan also said that her colleagues notified the airline and the Philippine government of the matter.
So, as for his relatives are actually not cases. They are close contact of this now preliminary positive result patient. So what we are doing, we have followed international practice. We will inform the Philippines authority so that they will do the necessary control measures on their side. Notifications of the hotel has been done. Notifications to the airline and the Philippine government is being conducted. My colleagues are doing it right now.
Are the camps ready? Are the camps ready, like for now?
It is being prepared. It will be ready very soon. Because we have drills in the past, so other departments involved are well informed of what to do.
The Civil Aeronautics Board, or CAB, on Thursday announced the indefinite suspension of flights between central China's city of Wuhan and the Philippines to prevent the entry of deadly 2019 novel coronavirus, or the 2019 nCoV, in the country. Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, or CAAP, spokesperson Eric Apolonio said it is only in Calibo that the country has direct flights to and from Wuhan. These flights are being offered by Pan Pacific Airlines and Royal Air Charter. Both of them operate chartered flights 3 times weekly. Today, CAB suspended their operations until further notice, he added. In an advisory issued on Thursday, the CAB also directed air carriers with flights coming directly or connecting from China to get a health declaration checklist from the Bureau of Quarantine, or the BOQ. The CAB said passengers must fill out the health declaration checklist prior to disembarkation as part of the precautionary measure to prevent the entry of the new coronavirus strain in the country. Meanwhile, a local carrier, Cebu Pacific, and the Philippine Airlines on Thursday urged passengers to take extra precautions against coronavirus. The 2019 nCoV has started spreading in Wuhan in central China's Hubei province in December last year. China's state-run Xinhua news agency reported that 571 confirmed cases of 2019 nCoV have been reported throughout China, resulting in 17 deaths, all in Hubei province. Overseas, the regions of Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan, as well as in the United States, Japan, and the Republic of Korea have confirmed 1 case each, and Thailand with 3 cases.
They then go back over the line.
A professor at the National University of Singapore says the spread of a virus epidemic that has broken out in the China city of Wuhan is on track to be the same size as the SARS outbreak in 2002 and 2003. Take a look.
Well, at the rate at which new cases are being announced, I think we're well on the way to an outbreak of the same size as the SARS outbreak. But we do hope that because technology has advanced, that hopefully we'll be able to contain the outbreak and we'll get a lot less than 8,000 cases like we had in 2003. Well, I think the reality is that this outbreak is a reminder from nature. See. Once you start crossing lines between humans and other species, then you run the risk of introducing new pathogens. I mean, this has been happening for years, for many, many years. Well, there's a huge number of knowledge gaps. I think we need to know the clinical features of the virus. We need to know the incubation period. We already have some idea about the incubation period, but with more data, we'd be able to have a more accurate projection of the range of incubation periods that we've had with the virus. We need to know what are the kinds of treatments that were used, which are those that worked, which didn't work. We need to know some of the laboratory features of the virus. Well, this viral outbreak is obviously a cause for concern, but I am cautiously optimistic that we'll be able to put it under control. It's affected travelers in many different countries, but again, that's allowed us to pool resources from across the globe. The WHO is taking this seriously. Okay, this virus is very closely related to SARS genetically. The genome of the virus has been published, and it shares around 80% of its genes with the SARS virus. In fact, it's probably closer to the SARS virus than any other human virus. There's only one bat virus that's probably in between the two.
WHO Chief Tedros Adhanom says the deadly virus outbreak in China and beyond does not yet constitute a global health emergency after a two-day emergency meeting in Geneva on the virus. He also warned it may yet become one.
Make no mistake, this is, though, an emergency in China. But it has not yet become a global health emergency. It may yet become one. We know that there is human-to-human transmission in China, but for now it appears limited to family groups and health workers caring for infected patients. At this time, there is no evidence of human-to-human transmission outside China. We don't know the source of this virus. We don't understand how easily it spreads. And we don't fully understand its clinical features or severity. WHO is working with our partners night and day in China and the other affected countries at the regional level and here at the headquarters to fill the gaps in our knowledge as quickly as possible. For the moment, WHO does not recommend any broader restrictions on travel or trade. We recommend
visiting the Philippines, Manila or Quezon City is a popular destination. But oftentimes the hustle and bustle of the city can be more stressful on your vacation. So when you feel the need to reconnect to nature or relax again, there's a beautiful oasis just outside of the city called the Garden at Ciudad de Victoria. species that you can see here include hydrangea, snapdragon, and stargazers. They're truly beautiful. The gardens at Ciudad de Victoria are so peaceful, tranquil, and beautiful that it's become a haven for young couples and a very popular venue for engagement photos. The next time you want an escape from the big city, the garden at Ciudad de Victoria is a wonderful place to visit.
Welcome back. 10 people were missing after a boat carrying 20 migrant workers capsized off the coast of Indonesia's Sumatra Island, a search and rescue official said Thursday. The wooden vessel, which was bound for neighboring Malaysia, began talking on water when it was inundated by high waves on Tuesday evening. And I quote, "There were 20 people on board, 10 of them were rescued while 10 others are still missing," the local search and rescue official Lenny Tadika told Metro TV Thursday. The rescued workers, who wore life vests, were spotted by fishermen on Wednesday afternoon. Police said the passengers were illegal migrants. Indonesians regularly make the perilous crossing to Malaysia in search of work, often as construction and palm oil plantation workers. Boat accidents are common in Indonesia, a Southeast Asian archipelago of some 17,000 islands, due to lax safety standards. In recent years, dozens of Indonesian migrant workers have disappeared in such accidents. Meanwhile, the number of families displaced by the restive Taal volcano has climbed to 88,842. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or the NDRRMC, said on Friday. In its 6 a.m. update, the agency said that this figure is equivalent to 346,244 persons. Affected families are from Batangas, Cavite, Laguna, and Quezon. Families staying in 488 evacuation centers are placed at 37,311, or the equivalent of 137,538 individuals, while the remainder are being aided outside. For the past 24 hours, the volcano's activity has been characterized by weak to moderate emission of white steam-laden plumes 50 to 500 meters high from its main crater, while it had an average sulfur dioxide emission of 224 tons per day. A total of 7 volcanic earthquakes with a magnitude of 1.2 to 2.7 were recorded from 5 a.m. Thursday to 5 a.m. Friday. Taal volcano is currently under alert level 4, which means a hazardous eruption is still possible within hours or days. The country's economic growth is expected to expand by 6.3%, but a weaker peso is seen for this year. This according to Ivan Ante, Global Multi-Asset Portfolio Manager at ATR Asset Management, said the higher economic growth for the year would likely be supported by the timely passage of the 2020 budget, which in turn is seen to enable a comeback of government expenditure, a growth driver aside from robust consumption. However, he said they also project that the peso will weaken against the dollar and will depreciate around 51 to 52 against the greenback. Ante explained why that could be. There is no free lunch when it comes to government spending, as the state will need labor, raw materials, and capital to complete the projects. He also indicated a bullish outlook for Philippine Stock Exchange Index, as he sees it hitting 8,600 to 8,800 due to recent concerns, including the Taal volcano eruption, as well as the government looking into alleged onerous contracts. And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Judith Yamera, and I'm 1 with 25.